and he also has a method of training that's fairly unique, very unique in the aspect of fitness today. So I'm going to learn from him. He's going to take me through a workout using his method. Tell me about it.
So what I use is something called high intensity training. So this is not new. This has been around since the 70s, if you're familiar with Nautilus equipment, right? Mm-hmm. Arthur Jones developed this equipment around a set of principles called high intensity training principles. So what he found over the past 50 years of training, that what the muscle responds best to is just huge intensity of effort. Now you got a lot of bodybuilders in the gym preach volume, but there's a problem with that. Most of these bodybuilders are drug enhanced, and most of them can tolerate that level of volume. Not only that, the intensity of effort is what drives the muscle growth stimulus and the strength stimulus. So if you're making the body stronger, you're growing muscle. How much muscle you grow and how strong you get, it's really going to depend on your diet, your genetics, but this has been found through research to be the most efficient, effective, and safe way to train. So you, for instance, longevity is the key. Oh, yeah. Yours, especially in the off season, you want to get as strong as possible and reduce chance of injury as possible. So this protocol, it focuses on lifting and lowering the weight slowly, putting maximum tension on the muscle, and generating a level of effort that is far beyond what most people do. And what this does is it induces the stimulus much more effectively, much more intensely. But with the lifting and lowering slowly, it makes getting injured almost impossible. So it's a great off-season approach for athletes, strong men, even bodybuilders like myself. I'm a published fitness model. I've been in all the magazines. And I've been doing this protocol, just one set to failure, done slowly, really intensely, just about twice a week. And I developed a fantastic physique doing this. So my mission is really to show people the real science behind training. Yeah. A lot of people just kind of follow the leader. Whoever looks good, whoever does well in a strongman competition, to kind of replicate what they're doing without taking into consideration, of course, the genetics, the drugs, and all those other factors. So physiologically, the research shows this is the way to do it. And I've been doing it for a decade, and it worked for me, and it works for, I've trained about 15,000 personal training sessions, got a couple studios in New York, never had an injury. Everybody improved. The purpose of this exercise, or the purpose of exercise, is not to just lift the weight up and down an arbitrary number of sets of reps. It is to deeply and aggressively fatigue the muscle to set in motion a stimulus for adaptation. And that stimulus is deep, aggressive level of muscle fatigue. You can do this in one set, so it's highly efficient.
One set.
Think about the point of the exercise where you want to stop. High intensity training is reaching that threshold and pushing past it. Yeah. That's what stimulates the muscle. That's what actually stimulates the muscle. Think about it. Why would a muscle get stronger? Because it can't handle something the environment is placing on it, a demand.
Right.
So if you lift to the point where your muscles completely cook out, that's the stimulus. That is giving your muscles a reason to grow stronger. So I'm going to set these bar catchers in a position to where it's going to be just above your chest. A little bit higher. So the important part about training like this is you need to have all these safety things in place, because you're going to be reaching failure. By failure, I mean the part where you absolutely cannot get another repetition. This is what drives the stimulus. So things like these safety bars, they have to be in place. You can do this protocol with free weights. It's a little easier for beginners to do with machines if they don't have an instructor. But safety is key, because we want to minimize peak forces. Because
peak force? What do you mean by
peak
that?
Force is injury is caused by forces, by excessive forces. There's a certain amount of force your connective tissue can withstand before it fails. Lifting quickly, mass times acceleration, is force. That's why power lifters, they kind of rely on force to get the weight up, and that over time will wear and tear the joints of connective tissue, and that's why you end up with a biceps tear.
Yeah, I mean, all I do is force. I think that I'm just a forceful trainer.
Well, that's your competition. That's the thing.
Right.
There's the competitive lifts, and then there's training the muscle. They're two different things. Right. If you want to increase the strength of the muscle fiber as much as possible, you want to reduce peak forces as much as possible, so that way momentum isn't helping carry the weight.
Right.
And then you practice the skill-specific lifts like the stone or the deadlift or the squat in conjunction with this, because those are skill-based movements.
Right.
So in the off season, you want to make your body as strong as possible and as injury resistant as possible,
Yeah.
and then practice the skill component. At your level, you've already probably hit the ceiling when it comes to skill with these lifts. You've probably gotten as good as you can. So in my personal opinion, your focus right now should be making everything as strong as possible and injury resistant as possible, because you got the skill. And then take that improved body, and then in conjunction with the skill, you'll perform better. The difference here is, like, most people on the bench press are going to start from up here, right? You want to actually start each exercise in the hardest part of the range of motion, so you know what weight you can handle. Most people will start it up here with their elbows locked out. There's no moment arm on the chest. That means the chest is not doing much work. You can literally touch your chest and it's, you want to start down here. The goal of exercise, right? Create tension in the targeted muscle area. Aggressively fatigue it to a point it is not used to. That's what stimulates it.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to use a weight generally that allows us to do that within about 8 to 12 repetitions.
Okay.
But here's the difference between the way I train, the way I instruct, the way most people train is I have people lift very slowly.
Slowly.
Because if you're lifting slowly, you're creating what's called continuous load on the muscle. If the muscle is continuously loaded, it's continuously fatiguing. It's going to make it more efficient, more effective. Also eliminating those peak forces so you can't get hurt. And you'll notice when you lift like this, it's much harder because your muscles get no break. So it takes a little bit of getting accustomed to.
Yeah, I bet.
But you'll find that after some practice, you get a level of fatigue in your muscle that you've never felt before. It's insane. So with each exercise, again, the point is to load the muscle. So you want to start each exercise slowly. You almost want to barely move it and maintain proper form at all times. So at the beginning of the exercise, you want to just barely move it, and then you want to take about 5 seconds coming up, avoiding lockout, and then really concentrate on the eccentric lowering phase. And then slowly come out of the bottom. So this way the muscle is not getting any rest, and then and you're not generating peak forces, so you cannot get hurt. A lot of people tear their deltoids or rotator cuffs because of this fast change in direction and position. But doing it this way, you're not going to have that fast change in direction, and your rotator cuff and everything is going to be protected. And then we just continue this cadence, always maintaining perfect form until you get to the point where you go to push and you have absolutely nothing left. And at that point, I'm going to squeeze as much effort out of you to get you as far past that threshold, that failure threshold as possible. So the point of each exercise is to fail.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't want to see
Fail, meaning like absolutely, like drop the bar. You can't do any more.
You want to get to the point where literally if a gun was put to your head, you could not get another repetition. So think about it. The only two scenarios the human body or an animal would use this much muscular effort or energy is if it were trying to obtain food through hunting or trying to prevent itself from becoming food. These two scenarios are essential for survival and propagating its DNA into the future. So basically what we're trying to do is replicate that scenario with weights. That's pretty much all it is. It's stimulating an evolutionary signal in the body. And that signal is putting it in a position where it feels like it's going to die. This exercise, the point is to generate tension in the targeted muscle area, which is going to be the chest and deltoids.
Okay.
So you want to focus on creating tension in that area. Take about 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down, and just focus mentally on maintaining tension on the target muscle area, which is the chest. We don't really care.
So I don't even need to go to the bottom.
Not really, no.
So partial movement, even to the top, I don't have to go.
Right, you don't want to lock out because that reduces the moment arm effectively to zero. And by moment arm, I mean, for instance, say you're holding weight in here. There's no moment arm between the weight and your body. It's very light. The more you take it out here, the longer the moment arm you create, it's basic physics, the more tension is placed on the fulcrum or the pivoting area, which is going to be the muscle. So right here, you've got the longest moment arm between the chest and the resistance. But when you come all the way up and lock the elbows out, you effectively have zero moment arm. That is why people, without even realizing it, lock out, to give their muscles a rest.
Yep.
Because your body was designed to conserve energy. This, this method doesn't work if you want to like see how much weight you can lift.
Sure.
But it works if your goal is to stimulate the muscle.
Okay.
And get it stronger. Like a 25 on, just you can feel
Sure.
like a little bit heavier.
You got one right there.
If you're doing free weights, you're going to want a spotter. Because when you reach failure...
So, when you say a spotter, does this count? Because I generally train by myself.
Yeah, you could do it that way. You
Or
just
need
need
somebody to like help me force the rep?
better to help get what's called a forced rep.
Okay.
So when you've reached failure, you want somebody who understands the concept to give you just enough resistance to carry the muscle through failure through the entire range and then set it.
And then it's done. Okay, so that's the kind of failure. It's like
Right.
I've failed, but I've gotten some help.
They compared, those are called set extenders. They compared drop sets, rest pause, or static contractions at the end of the set with just going to failure. The results are exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. It provides no additional benefit to do a drop set if you're already appropriately reaching failure. So a lot of people find that this helps because they're not training hard to begin with. If they do a set where they start to approach failure and they set it down, which most people do, then yes, if they strip it, do another set, they're going to get a little more what's called inroad, or more easily explained as muscle fatigue, and they found that they got a better stimulus that way when they could have just reached failure on the first set and got the same thing.
Okay.
There's a lot of wasted time in the gym, and it's simply because people just don't understand the physiology of training and stimulating the muscle.
Okay. Well, you're going to show me, and we're going to
Yeah.
do it now. We're going to do it with 95 pounds. I kind of like the idea of going light.
We're going to start light. I kind of want you to get a feel
Okay.
for the cadence, and changing direction is super important. You never want to hurt, you never want to jerk or heave anything. You want to maintain continuous load on the muscle. So just kind of practice slowly controlling the weight. The reason a bench press or another barbell exercise might be a little more difficult for people is because there is a lot of skill involved with this. So if you're new to bench pressing, you'll notice you kind of feel probably a little wobbly, right? That's where a machine kind of comes into play and is a little more help because it kind of eliminates a lot of the skill component there. Just focus on just controlling the weight and placing tension on the chest. And when it comes to breathing, you want your face and jaw to be as relaxed as possible and just continuously breathe. Unlike powerlifting, where you want to hold your breath for the Valsalva maneuver,
Right.
you want to just continue to breathe. Well, everything works, that's the thing. But what is the most efficient? What is the safest? You rack it, come back nice and slow.
Okay.
And now we'll do a working weight on it. Most of the time, I think a lot of people, they could just, you might want to do a couple warm-up sets and get a feel for the exercise. So there's really no physiological benefit to a warm-up. It's all psychological.
Really?
Yeah, because if you're performing a set to failure, the first couple of repetitions that aren't that difficult, they're your warm-up.
Sure.
But with a skill-based movement, you're probably going to want a practice set. It's like taking a practice swing with a golf club, right? You're probably going to want a practice set just to kind of get your nervous system ready for this muscle recruitment pattern.
10 reps, you said, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you were aiming for?
Yeah, you want about 8 to 12 reps, because here's the thing.
Okay.
If you're performing each repetition at about 5 seconds each direction, that comes out to 1 minute to 2 minutes of time under load. What volume is not sets and reps. It is time under meaningful load. So 60 to 120 seconds of time under load going slowly is equivalent to what most people are doing in the gym in like 5, 6, or 7 sets, because they're lifting fast.
Sure.
So each set, if they're lifting like this, each set probably lasts about 10 seconds. 3 sets, they've only got about 30 seconds of time under load. We're doing 2 or 3 times the volume in just 1 set, just by moving slowly. If you're fat adapted,
Right.
so if you've been doing keto for quite some time, your body can probably break down that fat
Sure.
tissue and those ketones use it as energy. But for newbies doing keto, it's going to be a little tough. there's a little longer process converting a ketone into useful energy.
Okay.
So people will notice when they do ketosis, they'll have a little less energy for training. But again, the purpose of training is not performance. It's not to see how well you can do. It is to stimulate the body.
Right.
So if you're not doing as well but still stimulating the body, that's fine. So when I train people, I literally talk them through the whole thing. Most personal trainers, they're kind of like workout caddies or cheerleaders. They just say, good job, one more. I'm going to instruct you throughout the entire exercise to make sure you're doing it perfectly.
All right.
Looking forward. So what you want to do is, again, when you begin the exercise, you want to lift the weight very slowly. You want to slowly allow your muscles to engage. We'll start recruiting the target muscle area, which is going to be your chest.
Start from here, slowly.
So, yep. And you're going to take your time, about 5 seconds down, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, and then ease out and squeeze the chest. 2 there, and then down, 5, 4, 3, 2. Ease out and squeeze the chest. Good. Remember, always focus on changing direction slowly at the bottom. This will keep the muscle engaged and almost eliminate peak forces, which is why people hurt the rotator cuffs. Perfect. And always be breathing continuously. When you're pushing as hard as you can, you're engaging fast twitch motor units. These are the ones you want to target for strength. Good. Come right back down and breathe. Good. Easy out. Squeeze the chest. Good. One more. You're going to get stuck and just continue to push for 5. Continue to push. 4. Perfect form. 3. Keep pushing. 1. And back. Good. How does that feel?
Pretty impossible. That last rep.
Now, since you're a beginner, we're going to do a drop set. Hop back in. Eventually, when you get used to this type of training, you're not going to need a drop set, but I have a lot of beginners doing them to, again, get that level of inroad that's going to be required to make the body respond.
Okay.
So even though this is a little lighter, you're probably going to get about 4, 5, 6 reps and fail again. Just start nice and slow. Control down. Think about what you're doing to the muscle with the weight. Don't think about what you're doing to the weight with the muscle. This is very important. Good, you're almost there. Continue to push. Now just get the negative for 5 seconds. Ready? 5, 4. Keep going down. 3. Keep going down. Keep going down. Keep going down. Ready? We're going to get another negative. Up. Get it. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. One more negative. I'm going to help you up. And 5. Good. Hold it. Hold it. 3. Hold it. 2. Hold it. And back.
Wow.
That's it.
It's like hitting a brick wall. Yeah. There's nothing left there. And I really needed you to help me on those last 2 reps.
Yeah, and then another thing you can do is you can just, especially beginners, incorporate negatives to really get that additional inroad. But when you're getting to the point where you cannot move the weight, you've already addressed and engaged all the muscle fiber. You're engaging fast twitch muscle fiber. And that's the fiber recruited for things that require a high amount of contractile force, like sprinting, lifting a stone, or just lifting heavy objects. So fast twitch motor units are fast twitch muscle fiber. These fibers are thicker in nature. They have more contractile proteins in them, which means they can produce more contractile force. Your slow twitch motor units are these little fibers, not much contractile force. Your body uses them for endurance-related activities like walking, stuff like that. They don't have much hypertrophy potential. Fast twitch motor units have all the hypertrophy potential. So you want to address, engage, fatigue, and stimulate those. You address and recruit those by training to failure, or a very dangerous way that most people have found a way to do it is simply lift heavy things quickly. So explosive movements are going to engage fast twitch motor units. The only problem is high peak forces. So you're
and that's been my
susceptible
life.
to injury. Yeah,
That's all I do.
that's why you've seen huge improvements in strength and explosiveness. You're a very fast runner too, right? You're on like a 4.340.
Yep, I've also torn both biceps.
Yep, and that is from high peak forces.
Right.
So you can still address these fast twitch motor units moving really slowly as long as you take it to failure, because they're recruited in sequential orders called Henneman's size principle. So the first couple of repetitions that aren't that demanding, you're using the slow and intermediate fast twitch motor units. Then when this becomes intense, fast twitch motor units kick in, and that's when you start using them. And these are the ones that grow. So if you're not hitting fast twitch motor units, your growth is going to be extremely limited.
Okay.
But another thing about that is when you hit them and fatigue them, they're done. You can't stimulate them again. That's why if you did another set after this, you'd just be retracing slow and intermediate twitch motor units, the ones that don't grow. If you train to failure, you hit the fast twitch, any additional set after that provides no additional benefit. The huge thing, and the reason most people can withstand so many sets is because they're not engaging the fast twitch motor.
Right. Yeah, I've been there where I've done 3-4 sets of an exercise, but I almost feel like I don't feel like I did anything.
Right. And that was because you had, the arbitrary number of sets and reps that
Right.
you had to complete. A lot of people go in the gym and they don't train their muscles, they just use their muscles. They're moving things around.
Yeah.
But the goal of the exercise
I totally
is to
feel that I
stimulate it.
trained my muscles right now. I mean, to have a pump like this and to feel as fatigued in my chest and my triceps from one set of bench press is something I've never experienced.
Yeah, and another, what you want to do too with this protocol, if you can, is move relatively quickly.
Quickly meaning
in between exercises.
from exercise to exercise.
The rule of thumb is always move slowly during exercise,
Right.
but quickly between them. Because then you're going to keep your heart rate elevated. You're going to get a heck of a lot of cardiovascular benefit out of that too.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So if you can, you want to set your workout in order. So you can only take about 30 to 60 seconds in between. Because again, the goal is deep muscle fatigue systemically throughout your whole body. It's going to respond a little better if you move a little. Yeah, so
Good insight.
good combination with this for you would be like just a drop set and then immediately over to like a rowing movement. You want to work all the upper body together. And then
So
end
drop
up in
set,
a-
if I don't have help, maybe I'll get one of my kids to help me or something. But if I'm here by myself, would mean to do that set with the slow, short range, putting a lot of stimulus on the muscle. But if I fail, setting it down and then adding a little bit less weight.
and then immediately strip it off, go again to failure.
Okay.
And if you feel you still have a little juice left, like you should feel at the end of a set that you can't do another.
Sure.
So if you do that drop set, you still feel like you got a little juice left, you haven't necessarily inroaded enough, you do it again. But over time, when you get good at this, you're going to find that you can only tolerate one set.
Okay.
Like, for instance, personally, if I do a set to failure, even if I wait a minute, 2 minutes, I can only get 3 reps on the next set because they're cooked. So it does take a little practice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you want to go from like, a horizontal push with the anterior muscles to like a row.
Okay.
So we go into a row.
Because I'm doing it like a beast, I usually throw dumbbells. I stack it, I put dumbbells on there, and I'm banging them out. But if I'm going to go as slow as you showing me, stack maybe would be a good place to
Most people are
begin.
gonna want it, when they start training this way with this cadence, they're going to want to reduce their weight by about 20 to 40%.
I think
Not-
just using the stack by itself, that would probably be a good place to begin.
On a rowing movement, a flexion movement, you want to hold the contraction for 1 to 2 seconds
But not all the
before.
way in.
You can go as far as you want, really.
Hold it, you said, for 4 seconds?
I would hold it for 1 to 2 seconds and then slowly change direction, and then avoid fully locking out your elbows here.
Oh, I see. So stop right about there.
So you don't want to roll your shoulders forward because that's going to take the tension off the working muscle, which in this case is going to be the lats, rhomboids, trapezius, rear delts. And another thing that a lot of people like to do with this, they like to lean back, right? Because again, in their mind, make the handles move, make the weight move. But you always want to keep your torso upright like that. If you want to hit the lats a little more, you could lean back, but you want to stay in that position. That's exactly how you want it to look. So your goal and your focus is to squeeze and contract here. Just mentally be thinking that the whole time, loading that muscle tissue. 3, 2, slowly change direction again. Squeeze the lats, rhomboids, traps. You basically just want to punish the targeted muscle group. Think about just punishing the muscle. You should almost look like a robot doing this. You're doing it perfectly. You don't want anything else on your body moving. You want nothing helping you get the weight up. You want only the targeted muscle group moving this resistance. Perfect. Got just a couple more left in the tank here. They're going to get really tough here. You want to stay focused and try not to let the muscle rest at all. You want to make it as difficult and intense as possible. That's what stimulates your body. Here we go, coming back. Continue to pull, continue to pull. Hold and breathe, down slow. It's going to be tough, but down slow. Again, slowly change direction. This is when your body wants to jerk the weight. Here we go. Good, 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 good. Keep squeezing. A little closer. And hold 2 seconds. 1, back down slow. We're going to shoot for 2 or 3 more. They're going to feel nearly impossible. Go ahead, right back. Perfect. Maintain the form. Maintain the form. We got 2 more. Do not quit. I can tell you have them in you. Easy back again. Pull hard. Hold. Good. Down again. Slow. Remember, don't rest at the bottom here. Back and breathe. Go. Good. Slow. You got more. We're going. 1 more. Slow. Slow. This is failure right here. Ready? Easy back. Easy back. Hold and breathe. 5 seconds. 4. Hold it. 3. Hold it. 2. Very slow to the bottom. Very slow. Very slow. And gently set it down. Beautiful.
Man.
See, it's easier to instruct on a machine because all that skill is taken out of it. So see
Right.
how much harder you can push when you take away a skill-based movement?
Right.
A little different, huh?
I could see be something that transforms a person's mind and approach to life completely. Because as the discomfort shows up, the concentration has to improve. For me, when the discomfort shows up, I just go balls to the wall and lose form, go crazy, be a beast, as opposed to zeroing in on that form and focusing on the muscle. It's crazy.
You can harness that energy. Just maintain the form.
Right.
Like, when I'm reaching failure, in my mind, I'm trying to kill the thing.
Yeah.
But stoically.
Right.
Maintaining form, you know, you can put a ton of aggression into an exercise and maintain stoicism at the same time.
That's a new thing for me.
You want to go from an anterior muscle group to a posterior muscle group and switch them. Because what they found was if you work the muscle's antagonist, in this case, we're doing a row, the antagonist to the row is the anterior muscle groups, it helps that recover. So if you were to go from this row to this pull down, you'd cook right out.
Oh, yeah.
But if you do, like an overhead or a dumbbell raise, you'll find that you have a little more to put into that set.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people think erroneously that you want to work your stabilizer muscles. You don't.
Right.
There's no such thing as a stabilizer muscle. A muscle can stabilize. It's a role a muscle can play, but there are no muscles in the body that merely stabilize. So like for instance, if I'm doing a barbell curl, my glutes are stabilizing. We don't do barbell curls to work our glutes, do we? No. So what you want to do is find a way to maintain center of gravity and brace yourself against something so you can focus on the targeted muscle group. Because if you're focused on balancing, you're taking away from creating tension in the muscle group you want to create tension in, and it's just going to take away from the stimulus. That's why doing anything overhead or standing is less effective and of course more dangerous. So when possible, you want to be seated in a way you can maintain your center of gravity. Because doing an exercise which also requires you to maintain your center of gravity is less effective. And it's more
For
dangerous.
muscle building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's taking away from what the goal is, which is target the muscle. It's called the law of specificity, and it's called motor learning. If you want to hone in or improve a particular skill, you have to practice that exact skill.
Gotcha.
Not similar, exact. So trying to do things that are similar to a particular skill, that skill is not going to transfer. It's just like somebody practicing for hockey with a golf club. Pretty similar movement, right? But we know those don't transfer. It's called the law of specificity and skill transfer. Same thing, you'll notice people like in the winter will run on a treadmill all winter long and then go out on the road and notice they can't run as far. Because even the difference in surface is going to affect your ability to adapt. So trying to do movements similar to strongman movements, it's not going to improve your skill with strongman movement.
Okay.
Yeah, that's you know, it's motor learning 101. Again, a lot of trainers, athletes miss this. Like you see NFL players running in sand or, running with weighted vests, stuff like that. It's a waste of time, complete waste of time. Even things like agility drills, I know we did them in football, they don't transfer. You get good at that specific drill, but that's not going to transfer to a football move. It looks like a football move, but the skill is so specific, they don't even transfer. They're generally a waste of time.
Interesting, okay.
A lot of bodybuilders incorporate an incline chest press. If you're doing an overhead press, there's really no need to do an incline chest press.
Oh, good.
Because that clavicular portion of your chest is being heavily, heavily worked in this movement here. It's basically an incline press as it is. Muscle quality, that all plays a role in your development. So ever since I was like 14 years old, I had these big round shoulders, especially if you have wide shoulders, like structurally, your bone structure is wide shoulders, you're gonna be more likely to build big round shoulders. But unfortunately, it's not really up to us what our muscles look like. All we can do is stimulate them as hard as possible, and how they're gonna develop is kind of up to them. And I mean, they won the genetic lottery,
Right.
and that's what got them a big Instagram following. It's not like they were born a scrawny little twerp and then they blew up. That almost never happens. People gravitate towards things that their genetics give them advantage to. Just like tall people gravitate towards basketball, people who are lean and muscular gravitate towards bodybuilding and physique competitions.
Right. 8 to 12 reps. I mean, going the pace that we are, I think maybe 135 is a good place.
You could count reps, or you could use a timer and then time the amount of time under load. Because if you're never setting the weight down, your muscles under continuous load, hitting a timer and then keeping track of the time, we'll look for about 60. I like 60 to 90 seconds, but anywhere between 60 and minute 20.
Okay.
But reps are easier for most people to count. But in my studios, I follow people around with a stopwatch. As soon as they start the positive phase of the movement, they hit the stopwatch. As soon as they reach the point where they can't move it in the positive phase, stop it, and I record it very meticulously. And that's how you know when to progressively overload. So in this case, if your target rep range is 8 to 12, when you exceed 12 repetitions, that's an indication to start progressively overloading. Now you want to add about 5 to 10% more